Um, there's been some fantastic business by Liverpool over the last few years. What do
Sure.
you make of how well the club is run by FSG and Michael Edwards?
Yeah, I think they got the recruitment together. I was a big Brendan Rodgers fan, and I think it was very unfair, when he lost. Obviously, Sturridge is very injury prone at the end. Suarez went. Sterling got sold to Man City. I think he'd built a very good side, and Edwards was on the scene, and they were starting to put together the bones of good recruitment. And we had that title run where the Crystal Palace result, and we lost out, which I still think was down to Jordan Henderson missing those final few games with a red card after the Man City win. And I look at now what's happened since then. They were right in bringing Klopp in, brilliant manager. I was very dubious at the start. Proved me wrong. Big fan of his. I think FSG have let Klopp down this season. I think the recruitment in January was a disaster, doing it like on the last day, and not going out. Knowing that you've lost those centre halves, the injury issues you had well into November, December. It's the equivalent of, I said this at the time, Peterborough United are playing top of the table in League One. And we've known for 8 weeks we've had these injury issues. And I'm allowing my manager have to pick our two best central midfielders to play against, say, Hull in League One at the top of our table. That would never happen. I would be out in January getting him defenders, knowing the importance with those. Everyone wants to talk about what's happened to Liverpool's results. They want to have a dig at Klopp. The United fans are loving all of this. The reality is, when you take players like Fabinho and Henderson out of our midfield, the way we play, and they're not midfielders who are going to score 10 goals a year and create that system we play suits the front three and moving the ball quickly and winning the ball back in midfield and rotating it and using our fullbacks. We can't do that with two of them at the back. And I will blame Klopp that he played both of them too many times together. I think they played together 3 times. Okay, if you got to do one, you do one with a young centre half. You do what you got to do, but to take both of them out of that midfield, and even now at the moment, I'm looking at it going, Jurgen, I don't know why you're still got Henderson back there. You brought in these 2 centre halves. To hell with the defence. Focus on scoring goals and attacking, and get Fabinho and Henderson back into that midfield. So, I'm one of those fans looking at it and going, Fenway have been hit with the pandemic like everyone else, but they have let him down on the recruitment side, and that business to be done so last minute, based on bringing in money from our little fellow who went to Southampton, to be able to make the down payments for those 2 centre halves. I mean, we're one of the biggest clubs in the world. We're world champions. We're league champions. We can't go out and spend 40 million quid on a centre half. We can't go out and write a check to Brighton that they can't say no to for Ben White. We can't go out and Bayern Munich have just done 3 deals to rebuild the defence for the summer. Quickly, seamlessly, easy. What, we can't do things like that? I don't understand it. And as one of the most iconic clubs in the world, that kind of concerns you and worries you, that you're going out and spending £1 million on deadline day on a good centre half from the Championship. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with Davies. I like him. I would have preferred him to start over the other fellow who started the last couple of games, because he's played a lot more English football. I think he would have been a lot more in tune. If you look at the Leicester game in isolation, Davis has played, I don't know, hundreds of games in the Championship. So would he have dealt with that? What happened in the last 10 minutes of that game better? Most likely. So I just look at it and go, yeah, I mean, the recruitment come out and tell the fans, if you've got a problem, just say so. Just say, look, financially, the owners don't want to put 50 million in. It's a pandemic, and we're going to have to do a bit of robbing Peter to pay Paul and sell a player to buy a player. Okay, fine. Liverpool fans are pretty understanding. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, when you're one of the biggest clubs in the world and you've got the turnover Liverpool have got, to not be able to go out and buy a top-class centre-half. Look what Man City did in the summer with all their defensive issues. They went out and spent 60 million, and he's been their best acquisition this season, the centre-half they brought in. Very Van Dijk-like. So I look to this summer and I worry about Liverpool. And I worry because we always felt, and I've said this in my podcast, The Hard Truth, Liverpool's first 11 when fully fit is probably the best 11 in the Premier League. Liverpool's squad is probably top 12. So you start taking out your Van Dijks, you start taking out your Gomez's, your Matip's, you see what's happened. You start losing Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, and we're all crying our fucking eyes out. Because no disrespect to good old Divock Origi coming off the bench, they can't cut it at Liverpool. Sorry, I know he scored in the Champions League final, the Barcelona game, but let's be very honest. There's not a replacement for Salah, Mane. We all know Firmino. We love him. He's a great assist maker. a world-class number 9 now? No, at his age, no. He's on the decline. So you're looking at Liverpool and going, you know, they've got some serious construction to do in the summer. Oxlade-Chamberlain looks terrible since he's been coming off the bench if you watch him in games. So I don't know what's happened to him. I know he's had the injuries, but we're looking at him now going, is he belong in a league title winning 11? Is he getting in when everyone's fit? So we need competition. So it's a big thing for the owners of Liverpool now this summer. They're going to come to a crossroads. What are they going to do? Jota was one piece of the puzzle. Great bit of business. Thiago, the jury's out because of the way we play. And obviously what we've seen from him so far hasn't been good enough. But there's no doubt in my mind we need one world-class centre-half. Now, the two fellas have come in. We'll see. Do I think world-class is in there? I'm not sure. Joe Gomez has always been injury-prone. He's always had knee surgeries. He's always had injuries pretty much every year. Matip's made of glass. You've gone into a season knowing those facts. Your recruitment department's allowed you to go into a season knowing that. That's poor for me. And you're relying on Van Dijk. And so there's a lot of work to be done. It's frustrating. I'm fully behind the manager. He's had a hard time recently. I worry about us finishing top 4. I said it around Christmas time. If FSG didn't invest, they're going to get a smack in the face because they're going to lose out in the Champions League millions. But I wouldn't put it past Jurgen to actually win the Champions League and actually get that slot that way.
I think the thing is as well, Darragh, you know, you look at FSG and in the past when they've made mistakes, I'll point out the furlough disaster. They've often, you know, rectified it and they made the U-turn. They made a better decision. And I wonder if they'll look back on January. They'll look back, you know, going into January, we were flying. We were top of the league. And you know, they'll look back and they'll notice their recruitment was poor. And hopefully they rectify it in the summer and they back Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a possibility?
You know, looking at the last 3 windows, we haven't spent a lot of money. Looking at last year's window as well, we're selling younger players. We're robbing Sheffield United for 25 million for Brewster, you know, which is absolute like daylight robbery, fair play, to help us go and recruit Thiago and Jota. That concerns me. A team like Liverpool shouldn't really need to raise 50 to spend 50. When you're turning over 400, 500 million a year, you should be able to spend 100, 120 million on 3-4 pre-world-class players that you're going to turn into world-class players to improve the squad. You know, when you look at the acquisitions we made when we brought in the goalkeeper, we brought in Alisson, we brought in Van Dijk, we went out and spent money, we bought Mane, we did it staggered. And you look at the difference every year those players made to the team as they were brought in. We're now getting to the point with the age of some of the players, with the injuries being struck by some of these players, and you're thinking to yourself, Liverpool are going to need to bring in 3 or 4 very, very, very good signings. Okay, not world class because we've never done that. We brought them in, we've turned them into world class players. Do you know what I mean? And Coutinho helped pay for 2 of them. And I'm not sure Liverpool have got any player that's going to help pay for 2 more of them in a pandemic. You know, if Liverpool want to go out and raise 150 million off selling a player, is somebody going to pay 150 million for a 29-year-old Mo Salah? I love Mo Salah, but are they going to spend 150 million on him at his age? It's not going to happen. You know, what's Firmino worth now at the moment? He averages 6-7 goals a season at his age now. Are they going to get their 20 million back they paid when they bought him from Germany? So I guess the proof's going to be in the pudding this summer. It's going to be a massive summer. Klopp definitely needs to bring in new players. The one thing about Jurgen and the way he coaches and trains the staff, he runs them hard for 2 or 3 years, the players. And he needs to turn over players because players can't do that for 4 or 5 years. They do it for 2 or 3. And then they hit a wall. And that's happened everywhere he's been. And that's fair play. But as owners, you have to recognize that and go, we need to keep rotating and giving him fresh meat. Because if he's going to run them hard, we're going to need to bring him in 3-4 good players every summer. So there's a freshness about the squad, you know, listening and doing what Jurgen wants them to do. So, look, the bright spot for me is you got Curtis Jones. I love him. And I think he's had an unbelievable season. I was gutted every time he was subbed. It was like superstitious. Every time he got subbed, we'd end up losing the bloody game. You know, but he has, you know, you worry about losing Wijnaldum. Okay, he's been very good, Genie, but he's 30. You know, he wants to go obviously to Spain with his family. So fair play. So you got Curtis, you got Fabinho can go back in there, Henderson can go back in there. Probably need one more. I was a fan of Naby Keita when he came in. Unfortunately, he's another one like Matip. He's made of glass, so he's not reliable for a 40, 50 game season. Oxlade-Chamberlain, you're going to have to move him on. So they're probably going to need to do a couple of things in there. Maybe Thiago will be much better next year. but they definitely need to they're going to have to go out and bring in 2 forwards, in my opinion, you know, to complement that 3. You know, you got Jota, you're going to need 2 more in there, and you're definitely going to need to replace Firmino because you can see he's on a decline. And that's just the facts. That's just football. It's the way it is. Bobby's been brilliant for the club. But if we want to win titles again, and you and I both look at Man City, this Man City side's young. This Man City side ain't going away. You know, now they've shored up their defence. They will go out and recruit a top-class centre forward in the summer. And they've won 15, 16 games in a row without any real recognised centre forward. Your false number 9, per se. Jesus has been in and out. Aguero's not been fit. They've had Foden filling in there, with Sterling filling in there. Can you imagine Liverpool not playing with Salah and Mane and winning 15 games in a row? Because I can't. So you look at all those things and think to rival Man City and get back in the title race and have a go again and win that title next year. Because forget this season, it's done. So you're going to have to dig in and spend. And look, let's see what happens. At the end of the day, let's not get greedy. We've had 2-3 magnificent years. You know, if we can do the Champions League this year by some miracle, great. Disappointment that we didn't maybe have an FA Cup run, because that might have been, you know, you finish 4th, you win the FA Cup, domestic trophy, good run in the Champions League. Okay, we get back at it next year, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?